August 12th, the servant of God, John Bernal and companions, Martyrs, First Order. Although Franciscan missionaries from Mexico had labored and died in the Spanish province of New Mexico, which included northern Arizona, since the year 1539, it was not until the peaceful conquest and occupation of this territory by Oñate in 1598 that they came in large groups and began to see their efforts crowned with success. By 1630, there were 25 churches and mission centers for 90 Indian pueblos, and some 60,000 Christian Indians were under the spiritual care of 50 priests. But the pagan medicine men and sorcerers, who saw themselves deprived more and more of the control which they had exercised over the people, were fostering a spirit of revolt which became manifest at times and 50 years later developed into fanatic hatred of the Spaniards and of the Catholic faith. The result was the Great Pueblo Revolt in 1680, during which 21 Franciscan missionaries and 380 other Spaniards were slain, and the others were temporarily driven out of New Mexico. The leader of the revolution was an Indian sorcerer by the name of Pope, who declared that he was directed by 3 infernal spirits. At his instigation, the medicine men, or sorcerers, and the chiefs of the northern pueblos held many revolutionary meetings and drew up plans for a general revolt. According to these plans, an uprising was to take place in all the pueblos except those of the Piros on the same day. As many as possible of the missionaries and also of the other Spaniards were to be massacred, the churches to be burned, their sacred contents to be profaned and destroyed, and the natives were to return to their ancient pagan religion and customs. Those pueblos which refused to join the plot were to be forced to take part by threat of extinction. These plans were carried out on August 10th and 11th, 1680, in all the pueblos as far south as Isleta, which did not take part in the revolt, and as far west as the Moqui pueblos in Arizona. Dr. Hackett, who examined the original reports, wrote, quote, "The churches were not burned, had been stripped of their sacred vessels, robbed of their ornaments, and in every way as completely and foully desecrated as Indian sacrilege and indecency could suggest, while the sacred vestments had been made use of by the Indians as trophies in the dance and festivities celebrating their success." End quotes. The 21 missionaries, therefore, who were killed by the insurgents may rightly be called martyrs of the faith. Besides Father John Bernal, the custos, or superior of all the missions, 18 other priests and 2 lay brothers won the martyr's crown in or near the pueblos of New Mexico and Arizona on August 10th and 11th. Their names at least deserve to be mentioned. Besides Father Bernal, they were Fathers Joseph de Espeleta, Joseph de Figueroa, John of Jesus, Francis Anthony de Lorenzana, Luke Maldonado, Joseph de Montes d'Oca, Anthony de Mora, Luis de Morales, John Baptist Pio, Matthias Rendon, Augustine of St. Mary, John de Talaban, Emmanuel Tinoco, Thomas de Torres, Joseph de Trujillo, John del Val, Ferdinand de Velasco, Dominic de Vera, and brothers Anthony Sanchez de Pro and John de la Pedrosa. On gratitude for the Catholic faith. Consider how grateful we should be for the gift of the Catholic faith. If you had been reared in heresy or paganism, and had then come to a knowledge of the truth of Christian doctrine, would you have had the courage to be converted? But God has permitted you to be born of Catholic parents and to be placed, so to say, right in the bosom of the true Church of Christ. How much the more grateful should you be? Have you ever thought of that? Consider how fortunate we are to be children of the Catholic Church. When Christ said, "He who believes and is baptized shall be saved," Mark 16:16. He could, of course, have meant that only of the true faith, as he himself preached it, and commanded his apostles, with Peter at the head, to teach it. If those who profess other Christian beliefs are saved, it can only be because their error is not of their own fault, and because they live in the belief that they belong to the true Church of Christ. But how many of the graces which we have in the Catholic Church are denied them? The remission of their sins in the sacrament of penance, our Lord in Holy Communion, strength against the storms of life and confirmation, the final cleansing and strength on the journey to eternity by means of extreme unction, and finally, all the blessings that accrue to us through the communion of saints in the Church. How many graces are yours as a child of the Church, if you had known the gift of God. John 4:10. How grateful you should be. Consider in what manner we should manifest our gratitude for the gift of faith. We should frequently tell God how grateful we are. Out of gratitude, we should be careful to preserve this grace by guarding ourselves and our kin from every danger that threatens our faith. We should contribute according to our means, that the faith may be better known and spread throughout the world. But above all, we should live in a manner worthy of our faith, so that we may be worthy members of this Church, of which Christ is the cornerstone. For that reason, St. Peter admonishes the faithful, laying away all malice and all guile, and dissimulation, and envies, and all detractions, be you as living stones built up, a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Jesus Christ. Peter 2:15. Prayer of the Church. Almighty and eternal God, who in the confession of the true faith hast given thy servants to acknowledge the glory of the eternal Trinity, and in the power of thy majesty to adore the unity, grant, we beseech thee, that by steadfastness in this same faith we may evermore be defended from all adversity. Through Christ our Lord. Amen.